Welcome to BizShift, the show where we talk to global business leaders about the trends and transformations reshaping their industries. From AI to the transition to a low-carbon economy, we dive into the structural shifts that are changing how businesses operate. Today, I'm joined by Amin Nasser, CEO of Aramco. With over 70,000 employees, it's the largest energy company in the world. Under Amin's leadership, Aramco is seizing the opportunities in the energy transition, while also continuing to meet the world's current energy needs. He knows the business inside out, and he understands what it takes to bring people along. Today, we'll explore how Aramco is adapting and helping set the future of energy. Amin, welcome to BizShift.
Thank you, Mark, and appreciate the time.
So, Amin, let's start off with you and your life with Aramco. How long have you been working with Aramco?
Well, I have been working with Aramco since 1982, so close to 42 years now. You know, my father worked for the company for more than 40 years, and I always appreciate, he was very passionate about working for the company, he appreciated his role in the company. So I've seen that during my, life growing up. So I always wanted to join Aramco. I started as a petroleum engineer after graduating from King Fahd University of Petroleum and Minerals. It is very close to our headquarters. There is only a fence between our headquarters and the university here.
What is Aramco? What is its history? What is it today?
Well, you see, Aramco is an integrated energy and petrochemical company. We have been in business for more than 90 years right now. The company operates in all value chains, from refining, from oil, gas, marketing, petrochemical, trading, loops, and even now recently LNG.
Tell us Aramco's strategy with a long-term perspective. Where are you positioning Aramco?
Well, Aramco strategy is driven by both in parallel to maintain leadership position as one of the lowest cost, most reliable supplier, expanding in gas and petrochemical. We are the most reliable company in the world. We are at 99.7% when you talk about reliability. Our emissions, carbon footprint and carbon intensity for the upstream at 9.6 kilogram for CO2, and methane intensity at 0.05. So we are heavily focused in reducing our emission. We are focused in technology, and we do have 9 centers for R&D outside Saudi Arabia and 3 centers in the kingdom. So we are focused heavily on technology that will help us.
I mean, you've talked about a low carbon footprint. Why does that matter to Aramco and your shareholders?
We have a strategy of being a net zero in scope 1 and 2 by 2050. And scope 1 and 2 is basically the emission that comes from operating our facilities or the energy that we receive from the utilities. Now, it is very important because this is what we have control on right now, is our operation and making sure whatever methane and CO2 we emit, we get it to net zero by 2050. Whatever energy we receive from the grid to manage and run our operation, also we get it to net zero.
So what I hear you saying is, for the things you can control directly in your production, you're bringing down your carbon emissions dramatically. How are you doing that?
Well, there is a number of things that we are doing right now to reduce. For example, we will be reaching a net zero by 2050 by investing in efficiency improvements. That's one, because that will give us a big advantage in reducing our emission. A major thing is carbon capture and storage. We are investing in renewables. We are investing in hydrogen. We are also investing in nature-based solutions, and carbon credits, a lot of the elements that will help us, including, for example, the use of our crude liquid to chemical and producing non-metallic polymer and carbon-based materials that will always help us to also reduce our emission over the long term. Gas is an important element also in our strategy because we are looking at expanding the gas production compared to 2021 by more than 60%. And that gas, and in addition to renewable in the kingdom, will help to eliminate almost 1 million barrel of liquid burning by 2030. 50% will come from renewable in the kingdom, and 50% will come from replacing liquid with gas. We always talk about the energy trilemma, which is affordability, security of supply, and sustainability. And sustainability, as I said, we have been working a lot to over the years to reduce our emission and make sure whatever we produce is sustainable over the long term. We believe that we have to manage our emission like methanes and CO2.
You also talked about carbon capture. What is carbon capture? How do you do it?
Well, to start with, carbon capture and storage is important. Part of our strategy, as I mentioned, to be net zero in scope 1 and 2 by 2050. In order to reach that level, we have multiple things that we need to do. One of it, other than efficiency and other projects that we are doing, we have to do a carbon capture and storage to reach that goal. So we are starting phase 1 of 9 million ton, but to do carbon capture and storage, you need to start with first step is to what we have done a couple of years back before we started this project is we mapped the kingdom in terms of where are the best aquifer to store that CO2 and make sure it is secure permanently in these reservoirs that we are putting the CO2. So we mapped it, we identify enough, not only for Aramco, for other industries within the kingdom, and we are creating a big hub that will benefit Aramco to reach its net zero in scope 1 and 2 by 2050, but it will also benefit the other industries in the kingdom to reach their net zero by utilizing and tapping into that hub.
Blue hydrogen. You've mentioned blue hydrogen. What is blue hydrogen? Why does it matter to a decarbonized energy system?
Well, today, what do you have is electrification, basically for meeting your transition. And electrification, you can use it for light vehicles, for power plants and other things. However, when you come to the hard-to-abate sectors, you need high-intensity energy. You need something like hydrogen, either green or blue hydrogen. So blue hydrogen is basically you are taking the CO2 from the gas, you are storing it under the ground in a storing facilities, and then you are supplying that blue hydrogen to a power plants, for example, or to industries, whoever want to use it. Green, basically, there is no CO2, but it's more expensive. So the issue with hydrogen today is markets. Do you have enough markets? Do you have enough offtake for that hydrogen? And also something that is very important, 15 to 20% of the cost is in producing that hydrogen. But the problem is with hydrogen for the transport, for the storage, and for distribution, that's 80% of the cost. So that's where hydrogen has a long-term potential, but still you need more time to create the markets because the market is seeing it very expensive today to establish an offtake, and you need to scale to reduce the cost. And until you scale at a much bigger plants around the world, you will be able over time, hopefully, to reduce the cost. But it has a long-term potential, and we see a big role for hydrogen in energy transition over the long term.
Renewables. You're also expanding in renewables. Why, and what are the economics for you?
The kingdom is looking at, as part of Vision 2030, to eliminate liquid burning, which is approximately 1 million barrel that we are currently burning in power plants and desalination plants and industries and all of that. So by 2030, the decision is, as part of the kingdom strategies, to have 50% coming from renewable, 50% from gas. We are an energy company at the end of the day. We will be investing in maintaining our maximum sustained capacity in oil. We are growing our gas. We are investing in liquid to chemical and chemical project, but at the same time, we are investing in hydrogen. We are investing in renewable, but we are investing in all sources of energy because that's an important part of our strategy over the long term.
Aramco invests today about $7 billion in venture firms. Why do you do that, and what are you learning?
And technology is an important element of our strategy. It helped us to reduce our carbon footprint. So now we see a lot of startups. And we started with $3 billion for our venture capital. We grow that with the support of the board to $7 billion. And we have different offices around the world. And we have two investment streams. Strategic venturing, which is sustainability technologies like deployed in Aramco operation, new energies, transition material, decarbonization, or a diversified venturing like digital disruptive technologies, outside energy, even in medical, and biotech. And we have seen a lot of benefits, in some of these technologies to help us achieve as a goal, being more efficient, reduce our cost, and at the same time, reduce our carbon footprint and build for the new energies that we are aiming for.
So as you look at the technologies that you invest in and the ones you don't, where are you most confident that the technologies will work? Where do you think, let's see, and where do you tell your teams, no way?
With venture capital and, they, not all of them, they become unicorns, let me put it that way. So you invest in so many, and some of them, one will become a unicorn and will pay for the risk. I'll give you some example. We looking at battery storage, for example. Battery storage, thermal battery storage, and how we can create a better battery storage. We are investing, for example, in something they call it MOF, Metal Organic Framework. It helps you to capture CO2. Today, the majority of the cost for carbon capture and storage is the capturing of the CO2. So we are investing also on that. We are looking at technologies in direct air capture. Also, more important than that investment is the deployment, by the way. It's the piloting of that technology. So a lot of these startups, they would like to work with Aramco, not because of the funding, because we take their technology and we are willing to pilot it and use it and deploy it and see if it will work or it will not work, and the lessons learned and how we can improve on it.
When you look at your decarbonization agenda for the firm, both in your scope 1 and 2, but also broadening into low carbon energy sources, what's the biggest obstacle or problem that you and Aramco face?
I would say as an industry, it's the biggest obstacle you have today is the misalignment between policymaker and the industry as a whole. There is a real misunderstanding of realities, what works and what doesn't. You cannot achieve your goal by putting a policy and saying, by this year, I want this. But you see, you need always to think about the trilemma, is it affordable? Because you can put at what cost? For example, hydrogen is available today. You want green hydrogen, you want blue hydrogen, I can avail it to you. The issue is at what cost? So this is what we keep telling the policymaker. You cannot solve for one, sustainability, without making sure energy security and affordability is there. Now, if you ask me about what is the biggest obstacle, if you add to all of that, is cost. And how do you bring that cost down over the long term? It's very important and critical. This is one of the challenges that we are facing. And this is where the focus on technologies, on startups, what can you do to be more efficient to achieve your goal? So I think you need to be investing for making sure that at the end you can achieve your targets.
Let's close with just a couple of questions on what you've learned along the way at Aramco. So You started 42 years ago, jumping over the fence to work at the company next door to your school. You started as a field engineer. 42 years later, what did you learn along the way that helps guide you as a CEO?
I started, early on, as I mentioned, just by looking at my father, and he worked for the same company. But I started with cutting the fence to enter Aramco, when I was on the sixth grade during Eid festival here, to come to Aramco and watch a movie and eat a hamburger. So the excitement with Aramco and what Aramco means for us as young generation is always there. What I learned is, Aramco, through my field experience, it's just knowing people. I worked in the field, so you end up working with a lot of operator and technicians and all of these things, knowing what motivates them, what inspire them, knowing their stories, not only at work, also at home. Because at the end of the day, as a leader, you need to inspire your workforce. By knowing them better through this field experience, I get to know what makes them ticks, what makes them motivated, inspired, and happy to come to work. And, going through the ranks, going from the fields to management later on, it made me have a much better understanding of the operation in general. And of course, as a leader, you are as good as the people around you. It's your knowledge is the collective knowledge of everybody put together. So you learn from them. When as a leader, you need to make sure you have the right talent and you put the right leaders in positions.
Some young man or woman has just joined Aramco and is becoming a petroleum engineer or a renewables engineer. What do you say to him or her so that 40 years from now, he or she is a great CEO of Aramco?
For anybody, you need to be, you need to have a sense of purpose, a direction, and you need to be passionate about what you are doing. I tell people you need to be passionate about everyday work that you are doing, and you need to be resilient, because through your assignments in the company, you will learn a lot. You will go through setbacks, good and bad, but you need to learn. You need to go around, because at the end of the day, not everything is as you envision. You need to be capable to absorb, learn, and move forward at the end of the day.
Amin, thank you for joining us here on BizShift.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it.